Okay, so this is basically about Peter Proctor. Peter Proctor and Associates in Parramatta. So Peter Proctor represented me about 10 or 12 years ago. I was staying at my brother's place in Castle Hill, and I was driving into the car park. So that's the car park. I was driving up between. You see the lines here, the line here. You see like driving up the centre of the car park, and then all the cars are parked. So you got basically cars parked here, and then that's a lane. And then you got over here you got car park, and then that's a lane. So sorry, the screen's backwards. So if I move hand right, move left. So basically you had lanes with cars on either side, and then you had a truck cutting across between all the parked cars. So he's cutting diagonally through. It was a B double, a tip over axles they call them, and it's a 3-ton car park. And so it was coming straight at me, and basically I had to stop the car because they were coming right at me, and then it stalled. I was driving an old 2000 model Mercedes van petrol, fully loaded, so it was gutless. And so what happened was they beat the horn, and I had to put it back in a park, put my foot on the brake, and turn the key off, turn it off, and turn it on again. And then it started, and I started to move off, and the truck lunges forward, and I went, whoa, shit, and then and then the move your truck, we're going to knock your fucking head off. So, okay, so put it in park, got out, went around, took a photo of the driver's side door to contact the boss, and then the door, they tried to open the door on my head, and the door's head height. The bottom of the door's about here. And I stopped it like that with my fist because I had the phone in my hand, and I just pushed it closed. Anyway, went in to get money out of the thing, and out of the bank, and was getting money in there. The cops rocked up in no time. Gun in the face, getting threatened. Get on the ground. Put the weapon down. So there's no fucking weapon. It's just the Leathermans on the belt. Don't touch the weapon. And so, anyway, so I took my belt off, and they were like, get on the ground. I'm not getting on the fucking ground. I took my belt off, put it on the thing. So there it is. All the people in the bank were just like this. And went outside, explained to them what, after they calmed down, they tried to strong arm me. So I said, if you're going to strong arm me, I'll put you on the fucking ground. And then went outside and was talking to them. Then they took the handcuffs off. I still had my phone on me. And then I rang the company who was doing the crazy shit, got the drivers. And she said, they said you pull a knife. And I said, why would I pull a knife on someone? I'm going to the bank. I'm a businessman. And anyway, so I had a Sony S8000i. It just folds out like that. So they said I pulled out a flick knife, and I was waving it around, all kinds of shit. One guy said I pulled it out and flicked it, and the other guy said I pulled it out and flicked it. So their stories conflicted. Went to court, and then Peter Proctor, he basically said at the end, when we won, he gave me the thumbs up behind his back because he said, if I go to bat for you, the magistrate let you off. And then I was like, he forgot this in the second case, right? So just remember that. So what happened was, he said, if I go to bat for you, you'll get off. As long as the evidence shows that you're innocent, and if I go to bat for you, get off. I said, what do you mean by I'll get off? He goes, even if you're innocent, if the magistrate doesn't like you, he'll still frag you. So they'll still give you a criminal record if they think, nah, this guy's a bit too cocky, we'll sort him out. But Pete went to bat for me, and anyway, so I either strike a chord with people or I don't, right? I won't strike a chord with many people these days because I'm telling the truth, and people don't like fucking truth. So he told me that he went to school at university with the magistrate, and they were like this. And then, and if he goes to bat for his client, then they get off. And so I said, yeah, I was innocent anyway, but it doesn't matter anyway. It's neither here nor me. And walking out of the fucking the court, and the copper pulls me up and he goes, here's your property back. And I said, I thought you said it was a weapon. You know, the whole fucking, you know, I think I covered this in a previous clip. All right, I did the clip and it wouldn't, the sound went, so I didn't post it. I'm not sure if, I think that was on the sound fucked up. So what happened was, he goes, here's your property back. And I was like, well, I thought this was a fucking weapon. And so the Leathermans, which has got pliers in it and screwdrivers and scissors and everything, and blades and files and everything, and a bot later, suddenly metamorphosises into Admiralty maritime fiction. So the Leathermans, which is not illegal, but is only illegal if it's used as a weapon. It's a psychosis. So they gave me the property back, and then I walked out of the thing. I said, let's go and grab something to eat, wash out. So I took him to lunch, late lunch, and I bought him a feed, and he said they all meet up once a week, and they laugh about all the dickheads they have to deal with, and that's Freemasonry. In case you didn't realise, if it's not, it must be another group that meet up once a week. And so I used him years later in the Affray matter, and I think I had one incident in Penrith. I had one incident in Blacktown and one incident in Penrith. I got a different barrister for this guy ran me over with his car and he wouldn't move, and I was about to get run over by a truck, so I belted him. And then he fucks off. He knocked him out, and then he come to, and then he went for a red light and fucked off. And someone called the police. It was all fucking staged, and the police turn up later that night, and they said, we're going to arrest you. And I said, I'm going to fight you. I said, summon me to court. I'll turn up in court, but I'm not getting arrested. I'll fucking fight you, and I'll make a fucking scene. Right? A few of the neighbours were out and everything. And he said, he said, you just admitted to assaulting him. I said, no. I told you, he ran over my foot. He clipped me with his car. So he used his car as a weapon. He was screaming his head off me. 3 times I said, move your fucking car, move your fucking car. I was leaning in front of the path of a truck. And I always pull up on the right-hand side of the lane. All motorcyclists, if they're properly trained, they won't pull up in the middle because for the oil drops on the car. And I was leaning in front of this truck that was coming through, and I was about to fall in front of him because I was losing my balance. So I just leaned into the car as hard as I could and belted him and knocked him out. And so I turned up the court. He didn't even turn up. And this guy just fucking went psycho. Just turned up about 45, 50 years of age. I was about 35 at the time. And, didn't turn up. Cost me $1,800 for a barrister for the day. So that was thrown out. I think there was one more in Penrith, another one. So what the police do is they look at all these incidents and go, these people make it, he's dangerous, he's violent. No, I'm not. Self-defense is a fucking thing. Right? People don't like your actions, and then they come up and actually commit a tort. They actually come up and commit a tort. Harm, injury, or loss. And so I was riding behind a bus in Penrith about 2 years ago, and I was sitting on 60 k's an hour and I was drafting the bus. This guy's come up menacing me with his fucking car. He goes, that's fucking illegal, that's fucking illegal. And I just went fucking, I can't remember what I had in my hand. I just went to throw a bottle or something at him to fucking, and he just pulled off. So they'll come up and they'll try and run you over and they'll try and murder you, right? Attack you, physically attack you, because they're saying you're breaking some fictitious subject matter jurisdiction, which they're not legally qualified, so they can't give legal advice. The fucking the programming is fucking, it's a psychotic fucking episode, right? So you're risking my life, and I'm sitting behind the bus, and people go, drafting a bus at 60 kilometres an hour, Joe, that's not very safe. I'm fucking 5 metres behind the bus, 4 or 5 metres behind the bus, I'm staring at the brake lights. Bus can't brake faster than I can. I weigh a fucking 100th of its weight. And all I'm doing is staring at the fucking brake lights. Anyway, so you get the idea. They're fucking programmed. And so so that was that incident, and there was lots of little things where they go, you're a criminal. No, fucking people attack you for nothing. Right? Fucking, you be sitting in your fucking car, and some guy's got his fucking stereo on so loud that your rearview mirror is just going, and he had beep beep, and we'll get them in and go, what are you doing? This guy's fucking car is just fucking, the glass is shaking in the car. So I just put it in reverse and floor it backwards and just lock the brakes up. And then his sound comes down. He goes, what are you doing? What are you doing? I just lean out and I go, mate, you're torturing me with that fucking shit. Turn that fucking shit off. I can't sit in my van and think with your fucking shit. If you do it again, I'll ram you. Right? Only time I've ever said it in my entire fucking life. The only time I've ever said it in my life. I said, I'll put my tow bar through the back for your thing, like you're sitting behind me. And I said, fucking try me. And the fucking, and he didn't do it. So they'll say, look, he's not a criminal, right? You can't torture someone with sound. You can't torture someone with RF radiation. You can't torture someone by flying your chopper over the fucking house for 20 fucking minutes. Doing it to my sister, doing it to me. Greg Hallett talks about it. I've got people on fucking Facebook saying, they did the same thing to me. They fly the choppers over the house, they pull past, they gang stalk you, right? It's a fucking cult. It's a religious cult. It's sun worship, right? Barrister, solicitor, Solomon, Solomon, right? Fucking Latin, Hindi, and Egyptian. 3 languages. That's how they work it across 3 languages, right? You go through any 3 languages, you can see the pattern. And so what happened was I went and got Peter Proctor again, right? And for the affray. And I told him about Inspector O'Hagan turning up the house and saying, we're going to get you sooner or later. I told him about cars just random fucking, and what it evolved into is it only turned, I think there was 3 incidents where there was 3 women in a row. And I thought it was very strange. And there aren't a lot of women on the fucking highway in the afternoon, so mainly men. Yeah, mainly men, tradies knocking off. Women, a lot of women are nurses, so they'll be in hospitals and shit. That's a generalisation, but most of the drivers on the road in peak hour are fucking men, right? Most courier drivers are men. Most tradies are men. The women are off looking after the kids. You know, I'm not saying there aren't women on the road, and it was just really the chances of being 3 women in a row. And so I told him about that. I told him about the 2 guys in the same car, mock ramming me, or brake checking me, and then the copper pulling me over on the side of the road, and then fucking, the fact that Leanne's is one of the arresting officers. Leanne, the witness, has even said her mate is high up in the police. And I found out it was Inspector Hancock on another day, and she'll get him to sort this guy out. This guy was road raging a neighbour. I stopped him, held him for the police, and then police turned up and said, we're going to arrest you for kidnapping. I said, go fucking harness. You'll be in Channel 9, Channel 7 by the end of the day. And anyway, so what happened was there was 2 different cars, and one of them stopped, one of them was ran me over. And then Leanne said, I'll get my mate to sort him out. Well, if you can get your mate to sort someone out, Leanne, that means you must do favours for your mate. And she falsified testimony. She said I struck my cane. She said I tried to push her over, a 5-foot midget, and I'm pleading with her saying, why the fuck is your daughter flipping me off? And why are you parking the cars out the front when I ask you not to park there because I can't get out of the fucking driveway? And she's got a 40-metre frontage up the rest of the fucking road. She perjured herself. Patrick Quick perjured himself. Peter Proctor made Patrick Quick recant his entire fucking statement that I pushed him, and he had fist marks on his chest that were exact same size and shape as his fucking as his own fists, and I pushed him. That was it. I open-handed pushed him, and he went back and hopped on one leg. He said he fell down. He had no abrasions on his elbows. He had no abrasions on his knees. The guy's a fucking oompa loompa. And he reckons when I drove down there the first time, he had to dive out of the way. But I drove down there, and then I beat the horn about 2/3 of the way down. And this guy's got bad knees. He doesn't cut the lawn. His wife cuts the lawn because his knee's so bad. How the fuck did he get out of his living chair at 12:30 at night, come out across the lawn, across the neighbour's fucking lawn, and stand on their halfway across the neighbour, stand on the fucking driveway and get on the road in the time it takes me to basically drive 20 metres at about 25 kilometres an hour, 30 k's an hour, because it's basically I'm just before the end of the road, so just drive down length of three-quarters of the length of the fucking house. This guy managed to get up, run out of his house, run across the driveway, be standing there, and then when I stopped, he reckons he had to dive across out of the way and dived onto the fucking driveway, but he had no cuts or abrasions. And the police are on record. Anna fucking said that Patrick Quick's missus said that the police turned up and said, Joe's got a criminal record this long, we need your help to get him. Right, this is Brisbane Water Police. Right, this is the police station that has a detective doing 10 years for fucking running the drugs on the fucking Central Coast, and he's the senior drug inspector, detective inspector. You've got the woman in charge of fucking the looking up, monitoring the clubs, is in Bali sucking the fucking sergeant-at-arms dick. And this is Brisbane Water Police. And then you got fucking the mayor of Brisbane Water who's engaged in pedophilia. And you got me saying they're defathering people in Australia, men in Australia. If they Greg Hallett said, if they showed the numbers of suicide related to the family law court would have been shut down the fucking first year it opened. but they purposely do not divulge suicides, male suicides in Australia, because the suicides make up of the father and the son. The father and the son. Between the ages of 14 and 44 are the ages of the suicides related to the family law court. All right? Now, the whole system, I'm going to get back on track. So getting back to Brisbane Water, I told Peter Proctor all this. He didn't go after the police. He didn't go after Inspector Hagan, Inspector Hancock. He didn't say to the Quicks, did the police pressure you into making a false statement? He didn't go after Judge G for making a false statement. I said I had video footage of her walking with a cane 1 minute and none the next. I've even got footage of her doing a fucking handstand. And he wasn't interested. And then I said, I'm not fucking guilty because none of the people were out on the road when I drove down there. And then Patrick Quick comes out and grabs me and I said, get off me 3 times, and I pushed him off me. And the court said that constitutes a fray. Well, a magistrate can do the job of a registrar, therefore a magistrate is a registrar, and a magistrate is not a judicial officer. A judge is a magistrate, but a magistrate's not a judge. All right? The chief executive magistrate is the head fucking judge. All right? It's a Admiralty maritime jurisdiction. I used to say it's a religious jurisdiction, but a magistrate out of Anderson's dictionary, 1776 or 1895, I mixed the two up with Samuel Johnson's dictionary, is basically an admiral in the King's Navy. Are you on a ship? Are you out at sea? All right, go and watch my previous clip where it says that the waters wash over the land. Yeah. So what we've got is I told Peter Proctor I'm not pleading guilty to a fray. And he got on my face and, fucking said, "No, I want you to plead guilty," because this is what Peter said. If they decide they want to get you, they'll ignore all the truths. No facts. Facts is agreed upon principle. They'll ignore the truth and just look at part of the truth. And part of the truth is A walks in, pushes B, and then B knocks A out. If you're only going to look at the last fucking part of my sentence, B knocks A out. That's how they work it. We'll just ignore this side. Sorry, the other side. Got my eye closed. Everything's backwards on the screen. So we'll just ignore this side and look at this part. Because if they conceal any of the evidence, it's like when I gave up on Peter Proctor after that, what happened was I used him one more time, but I was in a corner. It was the same case, but in the district court. And so I fucking appealed it. They sent it back down to the magistrates court, and he gave me a year in jail. Right? And that was supposed to fucking somehow traumatise me. And so they set me downstairs and they said, sign the paperwork and we'll appeal it and you'll be bailed straight away. So I went to the district court and basically mate of mine said, just get the same fucking lawyer and just deal with it. So I went in there and Peter told me outside the court, 5 words. This was a gross miscarriage of justice. You should not be fucking sentenced to a year in jail. And it was only like 5 words, right? This is a gross miscarriage of justice. I can't remember. He said he was sending it back down to the magistrates court to be reheard or fucking whatever, to be resentenced. And so they made it a bond. Peter Proctor said exactly the same fucking words, verbatim, what the district court judge says, which tells me they sat down, had a conversation, and Peter was fucking with me by saying those words before we went in there, and then the judge says the exact same fucking words, because Peter ain't a mind reader. Remember what I said? They meet up and have a laugh and carry on, right? But they don't like it when you learn their fucking language, right? Because then you can learn how to speak. Because you're not a resident, you're not a citizen, you're not a res-identifying entity, you're not a C-marked state of the mind. C-I-C-T, Zen is a conditioned state of the mind, right? You're not a fucking a mother, mutter, murder. You're not a parere, parent, which means by obligation abandoned. You weren't birthed because that means to be abandoned. And you're not a child because that means the abandoned. It also means abortion, includes the exclusion maxim. Now, they don't like you learning the mens rea, actus reus, corpus delicti, habeas corpus. They don't want you learning any of this stuff, right? And all it is write down the habeas corpus, the mens rea, the actus reus, blah, blah, and then go to Latin. Don't go to the fucking legal definition because it'll be long and winded and you get variations of it. If you go to the Latin, it tells you 2 words. Habeas corpus, have the body. Have the body of evidence, bring forth the body of evidence. Mens rea, mens is the mind. Rea, right, it's actually rei, right? Ra is sunlight, yeah? It's a direct light. So mens rea, the mind's direction. Yeah? Mens rea, guilty mind, yeah? Intent. Actus reus, guilty act. Act guilty. Just look it up in fucking Latin. Don't bother looking up all the legal terms. You learn their legal speak in 6 months. Now this is at this stage she's gone down to fucking to Chester Hill because her dad's dying of cancer, right? But I don't believe that anymore. And so she said, I'm going to, and she was coming up every weekend. And then she took what's the word? When she was living with me, she got the assault charge against me, right? And so what happened was all based on fraud, because I said to the magistrate, I told him this is all bullshit. Fucking, she's threatened me if I don't say yes, then fucking, and then he just fucking said, so you don't agree with facts? I said no, and he said he just found me guilty on the spot anyway. I said Section 9 bond, so they're creating financial instruments. And anyway, fucking. What happened was, you've got kids together, so you love each other. You might not be in love, but there's a love there. It has to be there. You made little ones. And so she wrote this. Right? I'll just get up on top so I can see it. You can pause it and have a read of it. So it's a statutory declaration. And it's dated 2015. I'll put some glasses on, it's a bit hard to read. Annalisa Berra, do solemnly sincerely declare, and this is 27th of February 2015, Gosford Court. I witnessed and heard Joseph Gavin, the defendant, tell his solicitor last year at the initial affray hearing outside the courtroom at Gosford Court that he was not guilty of the affray and that he did nothing wrong. I witnessed and heard the solicitor, Mr. Proctor, get into Joseph's personal space and strongly advised and recommend, my opinion, overly pressuring Joseph to accept the prosecution's deal and plead guilty to... I saw Joseph shake his head and say, no, but I'm not guilty. I saw Mr. Prosecutor impose his presence on Joseph and again tell him to plead guilty. Joseph shook his head and they were called in, and then Peter Proctor pled guilty for me. I told him not to. Now, what happened was the magistrate, Dave was his name, yeah? Interesting name, Dave, means like diem, carpe diem. And he was a malignant cunt. And what they do is the police throw lots of charges at you, and so you plead to one. Well, they throw lots because it's all fake, it's all fictitious, right? And even the last one is fictitious, right? Because it's a charge. There's no fucking harm, there's no injury, and there's no loss. So there's no tort. So they create something called a crime, the Crimes Act. It's for actors. It's for employees of the state. If you signed up as the public, they can come after you. All right? And the other thing is the birth certificate. Yeah, you're birthed onto their corporation. It's fiction. It's fucking. There's a famous lawyer on YouTube back in the 60s in America. He says the birth certificate is fucking hearsay. So the jurisdiction is fucking based on hearsay. It's fucking based on. It's based on hearsay. It's based on fraud because the mother didn't have a maiden name. All right, they're saying you had no father. Yeah. Why they're putting the maiden name on, so then the state comes in under parens patriae, parent of the fatherland. Patriae. One's male, one's father, and one's fatherland. And so I found this in some paperwork. So I've even got now I came out and said, please put in a statement that about Patrick Quick, Leanne Judge, she swung at a cane at me and I fucking went like this, and that I didn't push her in it. She goes, no, Joe, I'm only doing this much. If I do too much, I'll be helping you and it will affect my custody. This is my first-hand knowledge. This is what she said to me. Right? Then I go into court another time, and where she's hit me. She got out of her chair, came to me, she hit me, right? And I said, is there anything in that fucking head? And then she hits my hand, and I tapped her, said, no, there isn't, is there? And she goes, I'm calling the cops. At this stage, the cops were into her fucking ear, right? And then suddenly, the nice nest, you know, the fucking going to work, making the money, fucking building up a business so we can get people working for us and sit back and just fucking send blokes out doing the work. Who cares if you're only making $1,500 a week? You're sitting back home, making $1,500 a week, go to the beach, whatever. That's a fucking lifestyle. Just taking phone calls. And, you know, you fucking... They hate you for it. As soon as it gets a bit difficult, they just fly the coop, right? A guy who's lost his house down in Victoria by a guy called Derek Balgar, told him to do a promissory note, didn't pay the mortgage, didn't show him how to argue the fucking thing properly. And now Derek Balgar saying, oh, you don't do promissory notes, they don't fucking work. After the guy loses his fucking house. And then he's trying to con all these other people into doing all these other actions. And this Derek, and they create the controversy for the Jews, they're all Jews, create the controversy, so you go into court, and you go in there as the debtor, which means you're under the fucking, I said it before, it's state, look up Karen Hudis, and she's a lawyer for the World Bank. And she said all governments are suspended, and you're under what's called state acquisition or state. Oh fuck! I'll do a clip on it next. And so, effectively, you're under martial law, you're under military law, and you're engaged in commerce. Now, what you've got is commerce translates to trade in Latin. Mercatoria translates to trade. But you've got trade on the sea, which is merchant, and you've got trade on the ground, over the ground. And you've got the natural trade, and then you've got the merchant's trade, the sea trade. And so king and queen are masculine, feminine corporations, right? The Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, that's not actually her name. You only name things and you name animals. Her is feminine. Majesty means great. Queen is a corporation, and Elizabeth is the name of the corporation. Right? She doesn't have a name. She doesn't have a name. It's the name of the fucking corporation. Because a name is an entry in a debt ledger. An appellation is what you call to someone into court. Right? Eve took a bite of the apple. The original sin, the origin of the form that removed the void was the sin, nature, sign. Signature is sin of nature in Latin. The G is silent. Original sin from the Orion constellation. Now, they can't even stick to the rules that they originally created. The English Parliament said the Admiralty, the Queen, had no jurisdiction over the tribes and their land. But they went in and slaughtered them. Then they reprogrammed them to identify Indigenous, Aboriginal and Traditio. Native, flora and fauna. So they identified as the animals and the things. And then they came in, and every time the Aboriginals protest or something, they're begging from their master because Aboriginal, Indigenous and Traditio all mean slave. So they did that to the Irish tribes as well, but they went in there with the Bible and converted them all into believing in Mary and Jesus, and that's just maritime law. Believe in maritime law, birthing and fucking the registration through the dock and the tur. The ship pulls into the dock, right? The tur pulls into the dock, right? The doctor's only job is to protect the life of the cargo for the life of the trip, That's it. So Peter Proctor is a lying piece of shit. He's corrupt. He's an officer of the court. He doesn't represent you. He doesn't attorn for you. Turn means to turn. Right? He doesn't work for you. I won't use the word act, but he doesn't work for you. He works for his society, and that's it. Right? Peter Proctor is an adulterer, because when you come between a man and a woman, it's adultery. He breaks the rules of their own Bible. Right? He breaks the rules. It's all based on fiction. Look at the stamp. It's inside a box. This is one of the few documents that I would have said doesn't have any boxes on it. Box, that's 4 corners. This is 4 corners. Right? That's a square. Square is not a square. Square is a corner. 4 square rule, which means it's a document. So there's the box. There's 2 documents there, the boxed one, the ink one, and then the paper one. Then you got emboldened, which lifts it off the page. Right? And it's all negative speak. You make a claim. I'm making a claim. I'm staking a claim. It's declaration. Means no. It's away from. Decant means to empty. It's a negative state. So, yeah, Peter Proctor, the guy is nothing more than a fat, malignant, defathering, red-faced piece of shit. And every time I had to pay him like 8 or 12 grand cash. And he didn't follow instructions. He ignored the evidence I provided for him for the benefit of the court, for the benefit of the police, not to expose a crime. Because only unless it's fucking blatantly obvious and they can't cover it up, do they fucking convict any of their own. I don't even think that woman who was in Bali shagging that biker, which is a conflict of interest, she's supposed to be investigating them, and she's getting it on with them. That's obtaining benefit by deceit, because obviously she didn't pay for it because she's a woman. He paid for it. He's the biker. Anyway, so that's give you an insight into what's been going on in my life, and they listen to these videos. They look for anything they can get you on under a crime, and they'll turn the people in your life against you. My own brother even said, I said something, and he goes, "Joe, I work for the government. Technically, I am the government." The guy's so fucking fried. It's not even funny. This is my own brother. He can't comprehend that the word government means mind control. That government only exists when they form a 230 majority for a party. That's why they need to form a government. Right? It's based on a subject matter psychosis. And people go, "Oh, you this, you that," but they've killed almost 500 blackfellas since the 90s in custody. They've developed techniques to restrict the airwaves to kill people. And because there's none of this going on, they're saying it's fucking, we just restrained him. You restrained him to death. That's murder. There was a guy in Long Bay in the mental ward, and they gave him some biscuits because he put this list in, and they said, "You got to give up the biscuits," and then they went in there and he wouldn't give the biscuits back, so then he just tried to bounce off him because, apparently he's mentally ill. He wasn't really. He was just fucking either coming down or going up from the drugs. People just get fried on the drugs. And so what happens is, to save his life, they went in and murdered him. They held him down, put him on. You put someone on their chest, you've got 2/3 of the body on top of the lungs, and when you breathe, your lungs now have to lift the whole body. And then when you put people on top of that, then the lungs can't do the work. And apparently the guy had diabetes. But the diabetes is probably a result of fucking olanzapine or chlorpixol, which are the 2 side effects. So if you have side effects from any drug, they're not safe legally. That's the definition. And so what happens is olanzapine causes a heart attack, and that fucked me for months. I couldn't even defend myself 3 months after. Right? It took me 3 months, and I still hadn't gotten over olanzapine. And then chlorpixol took me 6 months. My legs stopped working. I thought I was going to fucking have a club foot for the rest of my life. My whole left leg swelled up my hand. Went numb. The bones felt weak. Felt like they poisoned me. They fucking poisoned me to shut me up and terrorise me. And then this fucking half-wit out of Penrith, the psychologist, is going, "I'm here to help you, Joe." And she's around, "Oh, do you want to have a chat?" And I go, "You're fucking speaking nonsense. You're poisoning people and acting like you're my fucking friend. This is the insanity of it. They're poisoning people and go, I'm your friend, I'm here to help. I said, I fucking hope I never fucking see you again. And, you know, these withered up fucking, I see people today and they're just fucking, they're so fluid. You see it in their skin. The skin's got no shine on it. It's all dry. There's fucking lines in the face. And, you know, it's fucking, they're the walking dead. The fluoride is literally fucking poisoning the shit out of them. And, you know, it's fucking, I've got a print out here somewhere of the cover of fluoride and it says targets organs, kidneys, liver, fucking teeth, the whole fucking lot. They're poisoning you for the moneylenders. The king is the moneylender. The court is the bank. The AMA works for the bank. The legislation dictates what a doctor does. So doctors enact legislation. They poison you for legislation. All of the inhalable anaesthetics are based on fluoride. And then, you know, I said to one doctor, I said, why don't you use ether? Oh, that's flammable. Oxygen is explosive, but they still use that in the fucking hospital. The first thing you do, if you fuck with the oxygen, or have a smoke, don't do that. We've got oxygen in the room. Oxygen detonates. Oxygen has petrol will just blow out a couple of windows. Oxygen will take the walls out and the whole thing will come down. The fucking, you know, so the science is bullshit. The science is bullshit. There is no fucking law. There is no LORE. It's all based on banking. And they basically say if you fucking sign up to this shit or you use their shit, they've got jurisdiction over you, which is fucking slavery because it's an occupation. Occlude means to block, and pat, patch, P-A-T-I-O-N, patry, father, no father. An occupation is based on the removal of the father. Anyway, I can do the words fucking all day long now. It's crazy. So that's what's going on. That's why I put a clip up on YouTube. I had Deborah Bentley fucking friended me. I'm the victim. This is my story. I'm the victim. But she's got a guy living in a fucking house who's bashed a fucking 67-year-old woman in fucking in Queensland, and then the fucking other housemate she got staying with her. So, you know, the Mitty said she's got fugitives living in a fucking house, and then you know, if you bash some fuckwit, who gives a fuck? But you bashing old ladies, really? You know, and then the fucking stories they were telling, they're just knocking people off for the fucking court, right? I mean, you got a grow house in the back of your fucking house, and there's fucking light coming out of the fucking roof. That's what shit coppers look for. They didn't fucking touch her. You got a guy across the road who's fucking got some kind of RF transmitter pointing at the fucking house. So I got the RF meter and just went, that room, nah. That room, nah. That room. It got stronger and took me to the fucking door. And then I walk around the door and I can hear him panicking in the room. He's at the fucking door. And he's got an umbrella, an 8-segmented umbrella, red, white. So you look at it, the 4 white, it's a white Templar's cross. You look at the 4 red, it's the 4 Templar's cross. And he had Enki tattooed on his fucking arm. Right? Looking like he belongs in the city, but he was living out at fucking Picton, doing nothing. Walking, you know, like every day, walk to the shop. What's he do for a living? Brand new Doc Martens on, fancy clothes on, the whole fucking lot. You know, it's a Egyptian cult, and if you don't believe in their god and their system, well, like that's why it's called Murder Incorporated. It's called the Umbrella Corporation for a reason. It's in the games. So that's pretty much it. Peter Proctor is part of the Masonic cult. The bar, Freemasonry, the Bank of England, it's all located in the city of London. And so they draw a map on here, and they say we've discovered this, we've covered it. Discover. Dis means no. Discord. Yeah, it doesn't mean conversation. Disconnect means to disconnect. Connect. Disconnect. It's a double negative. Dis and con. No. Right? So, inclusio, exclusio, they didn't discover. DIS means no, CO means to, and ver means to change. No contract change. Work that one out. Anyway, the lengths that these people go to destroy lives, to further their agenda. Look up the World Economic Forum. Everything I'm saying, they're saying in Davos. We're achieving our targets, we're going to reduce the world population by 50%. Right? Virus theory, they've never isolated the virus. Viruses are intracellular, so how can you catch a virus when it's inside a fucking cell? Right? People go, oh, Joe, you're not qualified. Doctors aren't qualified in virology. Doctors, 180 virologists have been murdered in America in 20 years. Husband and wife, car goes over a cliff. Husband and wife, plane crashes. Pretty fucking amazing. Kari, I can't think of his last name, the guy who invented the PCR multiplier, said it can't be used as a test. So if he got a Nobel Peace Prize for building the multiplier, the PCR, polymerase chain reaction multiplier, it's not a test. Why didn't the guy who come up with the little fucking plastic swab that tells you whether you got COVID, because that identifies, one multiplies, this one identifies, so if it identifies, how can it do it when it's intracellular? The virus won't survive inside a cell. And so then you look at Dr. John Blunt of 1937, when I think it was his fifth test, decisively cured poliomyelitis, which is paralysis from polio. Didn't prevent polio, cured the paralysis with vitamin C. And the CSIRO came out in 1939 and said polio is a vitamin C deficiency. So why are we vaccinating for polio up until the 1980s? The whole thing is a fucking scam. All right? The legislators, the lawyers know this. They go around fucking poisoning people. When was the last royal family member you seen with Down syndrome or fucking cancer or fucking anything? It doesn't happen. Can means to hold, and CER is CUR, is the bastard. Curfew means few bastards. It's a restriction of the bastards. Because you're all without fathers. You're all birth certificated. Yeah? I've got a book here. The definition, this was printed. This was printed 8 years before Captain Cook landed here. I've got to be careful, I don't want to damage the book. Page after page. That's just bastards. That's on how to treat a bastard. If your bastard's killed by the mother, if a non-bastard's killed with the mother, there's different outcomes. If you claim that someone's the father of a child, then the child is a bastard and the father is guilty of bastardry. Right? The fucking what's the word? Can't think of the word. And so the definition in the dictionary is labelled based on the financial status, whether you're registered to the state or not. And so they come up with these words based on commerce, and then they give you a label. If they want you to do certain things, you get a label. If you don't do certain things, you get another label. And then they give it's a list of how things should be treated. So this book is it's basically a law book, but it's definitions. It tells you how to treat that entity. And so effectively when you look up a definition of the word bastard, and that's like 15 pages long, and it tells you it gives you scenarios all the way through how it should play out. That's dictatorial. It's a dictator coming from a king, right? Because the king is the chief moneylender. The king looks after the bank. Now, the Hague Treaty was created by the kings on how nations should interact, and then they just drew maps over all these countries. Like Mesopotamia became Iraq, and fucking all these tribal regions throughout Africa, Hutus and Zulus and the Tutsis, their region, which they already had names for, was now fucking Zimbabwe or Zaire or fucking... and they're still using them today. All governments in Africa who complain about Europeans all work for the bank. They all print money. Right? They're all part of the SWIFT scheme. Right? Libya wanted to fucking Gaddafi created the gold dinar and they fucking murdered him. The guy was piping water all over Africa. He was going to create the dinar, and they went in and bombed the place and murdered the bastard. Right? The Christians are going around murdering for the fucking Jews and don't even realise why they're doing it. It's fucking insane. And that's how they do it. They defather. It's an occupatio. Pat, P-A-T-H-E-R. Patri and her, male, female. That's what the Bible says, call no man father. So Peter Proctor is a slimy piece of shit. He's the one who said you should leave him. Now, I'm no different to my father. My father took on the police. Back then, they weren't as corrupt. They were corrupt. But when you made a complaint to the head of the police, they stopped the fuckwits at Penrith and St Mary's fucking following him. And then when they stole his car, they fingerprinted the car and they caught a fucking whole car stealing ring. Now, it's that... I mean, it was always happening, but you've got 37 indictments for pedophiles in New South Wales. One indictment has 25 magistrates, judges, MPs, 2 prime ministers, just in New South Wales. This is just New South Wales. And the New South Wales Police fucking commissioner is sitting on those indictments because John Howard put a suppression order on them. Well, he knows that the creation of the government of Australia, the private owned company, is illegal because the ATO is illegal. But the entity he works for is a creation of the ATO because they have an ABN. So technically, he's got enough power to call all these honchos in, but they're all Freemasons, so it's never going to happen, and say, look, this is what's going on down in Canberra, it's illegal. This is what's going on everywhere else. We need to round these people up, take over the media, and we'll tell them this is what's going on. We're taking over. But they won't because it's Freemasons. It's Freemasonry. It's Egyptian. It's Herodian. Right? That's their system. They force their system on you, and they basically use the Bible. I haven't got a copy of the Bible anymore, but the Bible is the how to kill. It's Bible. Bell means war. B-E-L-B-L-E. It's a homophone, and so they kill you with the first book, and then when they take over, then they reprogram you, and when the second book doesn't work anymore, then they go back to killing you from the first book. And the word apocalypse means when mankind wakes up. It's said to mean the end of the world. That's the outcome. World is a measurement of time, and civilizations are measured by time or in time. So this is about Peter Proctor. He coerced. Well, I didn't plead guilty. He pleaded guilty for me. That's why I appealed it. There is no law. There is no justice. It's all adhesion. Justice means to bind. Yeah, it's a contract makes the law. De jure means by law. So if you look at Wikipedia or any of the, it says de jure means by law. So jure comes from jus, comes from ius, which means to bind. So therefore, law comes from jure, and jure means to bind. So law means to bind. So by law means by contract, and it's common law right to contract. But the birth certificate is an act of oppression and suppression, and it's an act of slavery based on fiction, based on hearsay, based on colour of law, based on fraudulent conveyance of language. And the fraud is no one was abandoned, you're not the parent, you're not a child, and people are using the birth certificate as identification. You have to give a birth certificate if you want to do anything. That's fucking slavery. You're forcing me to give you something that's fraudulent, which says you have a right over me based on the fact that it's fiction, it's fraudulent. So, so the Commonwealth Australia Constitution, the Federation is, the bankruptcy is fraudulent. It's fraudulent language. There's no meeting of the minds. There's no referendum for it. David Walter even says, I mean, the New South Wales colonial constitution is all bullshit as well, but he explains that these new constitutions can't superimpose themselves over the old constitution. And he's right, but then they're all based on fraud anyway. And then the Family Law Court Act of 1974, the Queen, they stole the stone in 1970, the coronation stone. Freemasons went in and stole it, so she wasn't coronated at all. She can't ascend. This is Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth assesses. She can't ascend to any laws. She can't give royal assent. There's no proclamation. She can't. Her Governor General can't sign any proclamation certificate on her behalf. She never had jurisdiction over the tribal lands, and all the Family Law Court Act, everything. It's got no validity in law. Now, what Anna did to me was she said 70-30 custody, and she said if you don't, I'm going to fucking and the property, and if you don't, I'm going to fucking go for broke, and then fucking the cops will help me crucify her. This is what she said in court. So what happened was I signed the consent orders under duress. So the consent orders were fucking signed under duress, which means there's no valid consent. So that destroys the consent orders. And then what happens is when I went in there and said this isn't a common law court, they kicked me out. And then she went and said all the fucking putrid shit she said about me. And she became hostile after the affray. You know, she's always Italian, always fucking pig-headed, fucking vegan. This is how thick she is. She was fucking... she wasn't getting the right food, just eating lettuce and shit and just crap. And she wasn't getting any iron. And she said, oh, you know, I just so run down. I said, look, just fucking go and buy expensive steak and fucking cook it up and fucking eat it. She said, oh, I'm not doing it. I said, this isn't about you. This is about the little one. Like, go and eat the meat. You'll get your iron and I'll sort it out. And anyway, she's, no, I can't do it. Anyway, I come home and she's like radiating and she's so fucking happy and she goes, oh my God, I feel so much better. And I said, what happened? She goes, I went and bought a steak and ate a fucking huge steak. And I mean a big steak. And I said, well, that's good. And she goes, no, I'm breaking all my values. I said, what's your values? You fucking, some fucking batshit crazy fucking scheme that, you know, psychosis that you're into. Like, I'm pretty much vegan these days, but it's rare that I eat meat. But she was willing to sacrifice her health and trying to do marathons, run 20 Ks an afternoon. They just get fucking, they're so easily programmed and they'll fucking hate you for telling them. And after that night, this is how scattered they are. She goes, I'm never going to doubt you ever again. And I said, look, I only tell you what I know from practical experience. It fucking, you know, it's just what I see. I try to get her to drink Guinness. Guinness is like the highest absorbable form of fucking iron. You don't drink a lot of it. You just drink a bit and give you the iron when you're pregnant. Doctors and I recommend it. And when they're iron deficient. I'm talking about the mechanism here. And she said, oh my God, I'll never doubt you ever again. Fucking, you were spot on. But then fucking a bit of, for better or for worse, a bit of the worst comes in, a bit of stress, and they just fucking, they bail. They're out of there. And that's how the court works. It's defathering. It's a crime syndicate. It's a charge syndicate. They create securities and trade them on Austraclear. Now that Austraclear clip that I referenced in in my old channel, it's completely gone off fucking YouTube. It's been taken down. The trading of securities through Austraclear is what they call trading in debt securities. Anyway, I'm waffling too much. But that's Peter Proctor. The guy literally is the scummiest fucking man on the face of the earth.